Get your earballs ready. Welcome to the Greg and Tim Show podcast. Take time to sit back and relax and enjoy the show. Here are your hosts, Greg and Tim.
And welcome back, Tim. Welcome back to the show. This is the last one.
The fourth and last installment of the
best
favorite, well, let's call it our favorite moments.
Things. Our favorite things. So, I want to kick this episode off with your favorite thing.
One of my favorite things was when we talked about love languages.
Okay.
And this was when, I think it was in December. It was a Christmas episode.
Yeah.
In the Christmas month of December. And we talked about the 5 love languages. And if you don't know anything about the 5 love languages, let's roll the clip.
Yep.
So I'm going to connect love languages.
Yeah, for sure.
And Christmas presents.
Yeah.
And I'm going to premise this by explaining love languages.
Does this mean
that
I could possibly save some money this Christmas?
You might be able to.
Yeah.
So the gentleman by the name of Gary Chapman wrote a book called The 5 Love Languages.
Yeah.
And it was how people experience love.
Yeah.
And there are 5 ways in which they do. Gift giving, quality time, acts of service, affirmation, and it says quality time twice there. So what would be the fifth? What would be the fifth one? It would be physical touch. So those 5 love languages. And by the way, Gary Chapman came to our church. I believe it was 10, 12 years ago
some time ago,
with his wife and spoke on this. So I'm fascinated about this, about human behavior and how they experience love, but directly correlated to how we appreciate Christmas presents.
Yeah.
So in our household, every couple of years, we take the money, and we don't do a lot for gifts. My mentality is we will travel, use the money, and experience life. Not getting a physical gift for the kids, but spend it for our family trip. So for me, my love language is not gifts, obviously, because I gravitate away from that and I want to experience life with people. So for me, something like quality time would be higher because I have that mentality. And I always reference this by asking people, what did you get last year for Christmas?
Yeah.
And half the time, I'm not going to say all the time because people do remember, half the time they don't remember,
but
you never forget experiences.
That's right.
They stay with you forever because they're special.
Unless they get a gift that's super special.
Right.
And you asked me, I think in episode 2 or 3, what I got for my wife for our anniversary last year.
Right.
And I forgot.
Right.
But I do remember.
Right.
I remembered shortly after. Yeah. We got those forever bracelets. I've actually got one on right now.
And I remember
Lorraine got one as well.
Yeah.
And basically they're soldered on so you can't take them off.
Right.
And it's just something we did. I always do something a little different for anniversaries. I don't think that Lorraine's love language is gifts. I believe hers is acts of service. Yeah. So when I do things for her, like if I unloaded the dishwasher this morning, which I did not. So she got home and did not feel the love. But I worked all day. I think words of affirmation and quality time might be hers too.
Podcast.
And I'm doing a podcast this evening. Yeah. What's your top?
So
what was your top one? Do you remember?
You sent this to me a couple of nights ago, and we both went through this. I mean, there's so many different tests and quiz.
Well, we're putting the quiz in the comments below.
Yeah.
So if somebody wants to take the quiz, the link is just below in the description of the video. So feel free to take the quiz. Yeah. And if you take the quiz, I want you to comment below what your top 2 love languages are.
And I mean, it gets to the point. I think it's a little bit. It wasn't as in depth as I'd like. Some of the questions were like neither.
Do you know why they do that though?
Why is that?
It's because it's got to be one or the other.
Right.
So like, it asked me like a ton of times, this or a gift, this or a present, this or an item, and it was because it wants you to place these things, and you're like, oh no, I actually would like that, right? So it's weighting things. And because you keep picking like quality time, or words of affirmation or whatever you're picking, what was your top one?
It was.
Do you remember?
In front of me.
I have it.
Did we have the same top one, right?
No.
No?
No, we had 2 different top ones.
If I'm not mistaken, was it acts of service?
Nope.
What was it?
Acts of service is actually fourth for you.
Okay.
Words of affirmation.
Okay.
So this is why every episode, at the end of the episode, I tell you, Tim, you did an amazing job.
No, unload the dishwasher.
Now unload the dishwasher for my wife so that I can get in the good books. No, you're very much like Stuart Smalley, I think. You stand in front of the mirror and you're like, I am good.
I'm smart enough.
And doggone it, people like me.
That's funny how we both remember that. SNL.
It's a great skit.
You remember who did that?
Yeah, it was the one of the writers. I can't remember his
Al
name.
Franken.
Al Franken,
And
right?
do you remember what he did after he left SNL? He ran for governor of Minnesota.
Right. Yeah, he did a lot of things.
I think it was Minnesota.
I think he was a liberal governor, right?
I think he won. Yeah, I think he was governor.
He might have.
Yeah.
He was a very interesting character. He also had a movie, I think. Did he do a movie with Stuart?
Stuart Saves the World, it was called.
Was it?
Yeah, something like that, yeah.
Anyways, we're getting way off topic. But in terms of love languages, in terms of stuff for Christmas gifts, if you know your spouse's love language, so share the link with your spouse, or share the video here and then let them watch it, and then click the link after the video. Watch the whole video, then click the link. Find out what their love languages are, and you can really help yourself this Christmas. Yeah. For instance, like if your spouse's love language isn't gifts, if that's the last thing on their list, maybe you should be doing things that is on their list. Save your money.
Those coupons, back rub.
No, but like quality time is going to cost you money still. But maybe you go and buy like 2 tickets to a theater, or 2 tickets to Thermea, or you know what I mean? But you also have to know what they like. Yeah. Like if they don't like musicals, don't buy them 2 tickets to a musical. Yeah. If your wife is not a hockey fan, I know that quality time, you love hockey and you love hanging out with your wife, but your wife may not like hockey.
She likes hockey.
Right?
What do you want for Christmas?
What do I want for Christmas? I don't think I want anything. No, like Lorraine's asked me multiple times. No, I don't know what I want for Christmas, because we're in the day and age that we just buy things that we need or want.
Right.
And we don't wait anymore like we used to. And I think it's because things can get delivered to you within 3 days.
Right.
You don't have to go out shopping. It's sent to you on your phone. Oh, you would like this. And then you're like, oh, I would like that. You click it, you click buy, and it's already at home. Right? Whereas back in the day, you would get the Sears catalog and you'd be like circling things and everything like that. And then you'd have to actually physically go out and get it.
Yeah.
And now that barrier to purchasing is gone.
It's kind of funny that we have this social stigma that we buy presents for Christmas and birthdays. But, you know, we could easily just buy presents for Thanksgiving, too. It's a holiday.
Yeah.
In the States, it's just as big as Christmas, if not more.
Easter, we buy chocolate.
Right, but it's not a present, right? We don't buy Easter presents for people.
Yeah, like I've always got Easter gifts.
You have?
Yeah. The Easter Bunny delivers them.
Okay, but that's chocolate and...
No, it was gifts and stuff when I was a child, and it's gifts for my kids.
Right. We'll hide the eggs, all that stuff, right?
Well, and it's also
you
gifts.
Don't wrap up a gift for Easter and say...
You don't wrap it up, but there's a gift always there. But like, let's say act of service.
Yeah.
What's your suggestion for somebody whose love language is acts of service? Like to get them for Christmas.
Remember as kids, you have no money, so you'd be like, write out those coupons for your mom, like 5 back rubs, and you'd write out the coupons.
Yeah, those are lame, though.
And then they'd tell your wife 3 and
those are lame.
So they're kind of funny lame.
So if acts of service is on their list, find out what else is on their list in the top 3.
Right.
Like quality time, like touch, gifts, acts of service, and words of affirmation. Yeah. So essentially my list, my top 3 are quality time, words of affirmation, and touch.
Right.
Acts of service is 4th, and gifts is 5th. To me, I love hanging out with my wife.
Yeah.
I love hanging out with my kids.
Yeah.
Like I like the quality time aspect.
Yeah.
But I also like the quality time to be something that I want to do.
Where was the question or one of the responses that you could pick that if present would be to send me to Thermea on my own for 10 hours
quality
without anybody?
Acts of service.
That was never on one of the options. Like, that sounds great.
That's acts of service.
Okay.
I would assume that would be acts of service.
Do you like doing things on your own, by the way?
I do. And it's not because I don't want to be with my family.
Yeah.
It's mostly because when I go, like, let's say I go to a Jays game in Toronto,
Yeah.
I like going by myself
Yeah.
because then I can do everything on my own time.
Right.
And my family doesn't want to be at the Jays game for 5 hours,
No.
but I'll get there 3 hours early and stay half an hour to an hour after the game and not just rip in and rip out, right?
I'll go to sporting events, go see movies. I'd sit at a spa for 8 hours on my own. But I'm an only child, so take it or leave it.
I'm not an only child,
right?
But I still like that stuff.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I also like hanging out with people.
Yeah.
So like if Lorraine wants to go to the movies, I want to go with her.
Yeah.
I'm not really a movie guy by myself.
Right.
Sports, for the most part, I like going by myself because of my desire to like do stuff at sporting events.
Yeah.
Whereas going to a movie, going for dinner, that kind of thing, I like to do it with other people.
So going back to your question, what do you give somebody who for acts of service? Was that? Well, like you said, well, if it's a gift though,
like Thermea, a Thermea thing.
It depends what they would like to do, right? It's usually for my wife, she would like to do something with me.
Mm-hmm.
So for me to give her just her,
so like I said, figure out what else is in their top 3 and go with that instead.
Yeah.
If gifts isn't in their top 3, don't feel bad about not getting them like a gift.
Yeah.
And figure out like how you can make their life easier, make their day better, or give them an event or an experience that they haven't had before.
Make sure their car battery is fully charged.
Make sure their car battery is fully charged. If anybody's listening to that out in the podcast world,
Billy,
make sure the car battery is fully charged. So the reason why we talked about the love languages was because we wanted to help people give better gifts.
Yeah.
And gifts aren't always physical things. Sometimes gifts are acts of service, gifts, acts of service, time. There's 5 of them. Yeah. We did 3 so far. Time,
acts of service, words of affirmation,
gifts, and touch.
And touch. Yeah.
So like we were suggesting, like if your love language is touch, your partner could get you massages.
Right.
Or like
I'm glad you went there.
Massages.
Or coupons.
Or coupons for massages.
Other things.
And then like you could go to a place like Thermea where you get like that kind of thing. Yeah. But that also lends to acts of service.
Yeah.
Words of affirmation are great. So like if somebody's love language is words of affirmation, you should include a card.
You should save money. You don't have to buy them anything.
No, you stop. You should get them a card because a card is probably more important to them than the actual gift.
Right.
Right? As long as the card's coming from your heart.
Yeah.
Right? And then the other thing is time. So like spending time with your significant other. So maybe the gift is, spending time at a cabin or spending time somewhere. You know what I mean? Yeah. So like gift giving can be done differently when it comes to love languages. And that's what we wanted to talk about because this was during our Christmas season.
Yeah. Do you think that everyone should have something to open on Christmas morning? That's the prevailing opinion I hear. So if it is something like it's an acts of service, right? Or quality time, you would open up something to like a gift card. Or I think my wife gave me one year. It was a couple of years ago. Bought me tickets to spring training where the Jays were playing, which actually got canceled because of whatever.
The thing we don't talk about.
The thing we don't talk about. But it was something I opened.
Yeah.
She printed out the ticket.
Yeah,
right?
so Lorraine did one for me where she got me tickets to the Jays and Yankees back when Cruz was little, and she got me 5 different gifts.
Yeah.
And each gift had like a different piece of paper in it. One said one said going,
Right.
wanted 2, right? Like, and I
big boxes.
I had to.
Wouldn't it be funny?
I had
A
to
little piece of paper in big boxes,
giant
and
boxes.
each of them get bigger, and it's just a word. But by the 5th word, you're like,
But anyway, so that was like her gift to me, and I loved it because I love going to see the Jays games, and this was a chance for me to take Cruz to his very first Jays game, right? So I really appreciated that. Let's move on to our next favorite thing that you got written down there.
Speaking of Cruz and baseball, you just you watched Field of Dreams.
I watched Field of Dreams with him. Yeah,
and
he loved it. He understood it.
Yeah.
He got right into it, and he didn't take his eyes off of it, which like makes my heart grow because I love the movie. Yeah. So for me to be able to watch it with my son,
and if you haven't watched Field of Dreams, there's lots of different themes in it, but one is the relationship between a father and son. Right? Ray's father had passed at an early age, and they really didn't have their relationship, whatever it is.
My favorite part about the movie, I'm going to share this right now, kind of makes my heart melt. Yeah. At the end of the movie, when Ray goes, "Hey, Dad, want to have a catch?" My son looked at me and smiled.
Oh, that's great. See, and that's a lot of the comments about the movie is that it just reminds me of either appreciate my relationship with my dad or my son, whichever it is, or remembering some of those.
Yeah, like I remember all the days playing catch with my dad. Yeah, it was like some of the best times as a kid, right? Yeah. Playing catch with my dad and playing catch with my brother. Yeah, were always great times. I love them. Yeah, and I can still honestly remember the feeling in the front yard throwing the ball back and forth in the front yard with my dad.
Right.
Yeah. So anyway, move on to your next favorite thing.
When we talked about in January, in the bitter cold of January, in the 23rd of the year 2024, we talked about in 20. I know I'm just going on and on. About the question I raised was, are we raising? And we kind of talked about this a little bit in subsequent conversations, but are we raising a spoiled generation? Right.
Yep.
And we kind of touched on it in the last episode where we asked if we're overscheduling our kids, are they entitled? So they kind of
go back together with each other.
And roll the clip. So the topic that I wanted to get into, and we had this discussion on the weekend before the taping. You went with your son, and you were going to go to the McDonald's, as you had every meal at McDonald's when your wife was gone.
I did not.
Lorraine, I apologize. I hope you
Subway on the Friday.
Oh, he had Subway and then McDonald's and Burger King. So we had healthy meals.
No,
when his wife was gone.
I made him lunch at home.
Yeah.
And then on the Friday night, the girls were going out, and like he's being left out of this. So of course I'm gonna let him. Well, I'm gonna let him have Subway. Yeah. And I had to have Osmos. So, and I also drove all the way to Polo Park Best Buy to make a purchase that wasn't really sanctioned by the by the household.
Yeah. Let's not talk. We'll talk about it a little bit.
It was an unsanctioned purchase. So I drove him all the way there. So half an hour there, half an hour back.
Greg made lots of purchases when the wife was gone, when Lorraine was gone, and fed the kid McDonald's and Burger King.
No, Subway. So he had Subway on Friday night when they were gone because he was feeling bad that he wasn't getting to go. And then on Saturday he had hockey in the morning, and then he wanted a snack after the hockey game. I said, no, like you can have either a snack now, or after the hockey or during the Jets game, I'll take you and we'll get you McDonald's and you can enjoy McDonald's for the hockey game. Just as a treat for him. He can have a treat. Like he wasn't getting the whole experience that the girls were getting. And so, yes, go ahead.
So anyway, I offered, because I wanted to save Greg some money. I said, well, I have a gift card for Tim Hortons. You guys want to go to Tim Hortons and get food? It's close by. It's right down the street. And Greg said, no, he won't eat that. And
think about it. Backtrack as a kid.
Backtrack. The weekend before, I was with a friend. I won't say his name, but we had ordered.
What does it rhyme with? Just say what it rhymes with.
I'm not going to do that.
Say what it rhymes with.
I'm not throwing anyone under the bus.
No, just rhyme the name. I'm not saying throw it under the bus.
Ravid.
That doesn't make any sense. Okay, yeah, I get it.
Trying to disguise things because he watches all the time. And
does he really?
I'm not taking shots at anybody, but it's just for the topic for today.
Yeah.
And we had ordered a bunch of stuff from a restaurant, and it was enough for everybody to eat. But he said, well, my kids won't eat that, so I'm going to order 5 more things and make it twice the cost. So this kind of goes into the idea.
So here's the topic. Let me give the topic.
Let me just, before I give the topic.
Okay.
And in my mind, and I try not to judge, but I can judge sometimes, especially when it comes to food. And I'm not claiming I'm a perfect parent because I'm far from it. But I thought I'm a more of an old school parent in that if
you eat what you're given,
my kids are going to eat what they're given.
Yeah.
And if they don't, I guess they're not eating that meal. And that's just where I come from. So the topic is, are we creating a spoiled next generation? Is it a child first society that we as parents, for the most part, are in? And what are the detriments if we agree that it has become that, where everything is about the child? So that is the question that I had for you. And again, without trying to pass judgment on you, because we have, first of all, there's 2 parents. Unless you're from a single parent, you have to work with your spouse.
Yep.
And your spouse has different opinions on things. So sometimes there's disagreement in that. But for the most part, that's the question I have. Are we creating a spoiled next generation where it is a child-centered universe?
So I think that, and the one thing that came to my mind is that we start thinking like our parents after we become parents.
Right.
And it's more so we start judging what other parents are doing when our kids have like basically grown up.
Right.
So your kids are all grown up now.
Yeah.
You've gotten through the parts where it's like, no, Dad, I don't want that, or no, Dad, I'm not going to have that, and you kind of like misremember
for the most
what
part,
it was like to have a child like that.
If you're sticking with food,
there
are very few foods my kids will not eat.
Okay,
there are certain things,
but everybody's
they don't
different. Everybody's different. Like I know that my uncle growing up would only eat certain foods, and he would not eat foods that touched each other.
Yeah.
And his parents allowed that to happen.
Right.
So that happened in that generation.
It happened in a different generation.
And my other uncle, or sorry, not my other uncle, one of my cousins only eats chicken fingers.
Right.
Like, we'll go to the restaurant, she'll eat chicken fingers. And if she's listening, she knows who she is.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. It happened all the time. And I think that what happens is, like, in our lives, having young kids right now, I cater to a little bit of what they need, but I also at home tell them, hey, this is what we made for supper. If you don't want it, you're not having any supper. Like, I do that. Yeah. But when it comes to, like, if I'm going to take them out for supper, I'm not going to take them to Tim Hortons where they're not going to want something. I'm going to take them to somewhere where they actually want something. I'm not spending $12 at Tim Hortons when I have a coupon for McDonald's. It's only going to spend $8, and I know he's going to eat it.
Right.
So that's my argument.
Right. So your argument is that it has nothing to do with this time period. It's been each time period since whenever, the 1900s, have seen just as many selfless as selfish kids in it.
Okay. I think so.
I would disagree with that.
Have you watched Willy Wonka?
I have watched Willy Wonka and the new Willy Wonka, which, by the way, is fantastic. Have you seen it yet?
I haven't seen the new Willy Wonka.
Yeah, your wife went with the kids.
The old one's actually called Charlie and the Chocolate Factory.
Right. Yeah.
People remember it as Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory.
I do remember it as Charlie. Whatever he said.
So, anyway, Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, if you remember, and that movie is old, the old one and the new one, new-ish one, I guess. The new-ish one is not that new anymore.
A month ago.
But both, the Johnny Depp one and Richard.
Right.
Whatever. Anyways, if you look at it, there's kids in those movies that are spoiled.
Yeah.
Kids have been spoiled forever.
Yeah.
And it all depends on the parents.
Yeah.
So I guess my question is, do you think parents are spoiling their kids more now than they used to?
I think there's more to spoil kids with now. I think that our kids have more, what do you call it? Merchandise, more, what's the word? Materials that they can have. I think kids,
you think kids or everybody?
I think everybody, but I think it's starting earlier. I think now we give our kids cell phones at the age. I think the average age that a kid gets a cell phone now is 10 in North America.
Geez. My son turns 10 in a couple weeks. Yeah. He's not getting a cell phone.
Yeah, that's the average age. And there's kids as early as age 5 that are getting cell phones. And, the parent will say, well, so we can keep track of them at all times. Somehow we managed to have, kids when there was no phones at all, or no cell phones anyway. Yeah. And we just had a landline. And I guess that everyone passed away and died then. But and which is creating not just a spoiled next generation, but an unsafe one. The things that can be accessed on cell phones. And things like that, right?
The thing with it is, I think the world's also become smaller.
Right.
So, like, for instance, for us to go to Steinbach now is much easier than it would have been back when our parents were younger, right? Like, vehicles are more fuel efficient. There's less cost to going there. There's more reason to going there, that type of thing, right? So I think that the cell phone thing comes from, like, people don't work locally anymore, too. Right. Or go to school locally, right? Like, sometimes your school's a half an hour away from your house. Whereas when I grew up, my school was within walking distance. And I think when my parents grew up, it was very similar. They either took the bus or their school was within walking distance. Because when you lived in an area of the city, you lived in an area of the city that had a school around you. Yeah. Now, like, if my kids wanted to walk to their school, it would take them a whole day to walk to their school because their school is far enough away, right? Yeah. And that's their actual catchment school. Right. So, and I think it's because, like, cities have become sprawling and stuff has become more further apart for the cell phone incident anyway.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, that's fair. I mean, I walked to school too, mid 80s, late 80s. Yeah. So that's a fair point. I do still think that as we get, I guess you can go back to the Great Depression where people had to work for a lot of their income and things were hard. I think maybe since then it's gotten softer and softer each generation. I do think in today's day and age, we are spoiling our kids a bit more than we used to, but it's hard to compare that to, what are we comparing to?
So, and I agree with you that, like, it's harder to buy kids gifts. Like, I got a text message saying, like, what does Cruz want for his birthday? Yeah. And it's really difficult. I think one of the things that has hurt it, though, is things like, you don't buy physical media anymore. Right. So you don't buy DVDs. Yeah. You don't buy CDs. The only physical media that's out there right now really is books. Right. Toys have been replaced by video games. And physical video games have been replaced by digital video games. And they're so much more accessible. Right. So growing up, if you wanted to buy a video game, it had to A, be in stock, and B, be available in your city for us. So it wasn't as accessible. So now it feels like so much stuff is more accessible to kids that it's easier to buy it for them.
Right. And not only that, but what you're getting for your child and their activities, in a way, are we creating a lazy generation too, right? Because kids are less, they don't do as, and your kids do sports. Yeah. For the most part, a lot of video games have replaced books. Yeah. There was games when I was younger, but it was like Sega Genesis maybe, and it was in the early stages.
Oh, you were probably around for ColecoVision and Pong.
And ColecoVision, right? So there's a little bit of that too.
My daughter just finished her first chapter book. She's only 7, so that's fantastic. And Cruz is reading books every night now before bed. I'm trying to get my kids to read books because I think it's important, which just reminds me that I got to I'll text and tell them, get him some books that he likes, because I think physical media, like we talked about last week, Danny said you buy a book and you're instantly smarter, right? But, like, if you can teach your kids to read books when they're younger so that they read books when they're older, that's something we can spoil them with.
So in the church setting that we're from, priorities basically are God is your top priority, your spouse is your second priority, and your children is your third priority. And when some people think that their children should be ahead of their spouse, or even God in some ways, but most people that go to church would argue God is number one.
Yeah.
Even if they don't live like that, they're gonna say it is, right?
Yeah.
And it's the order of 2 and 3, which some people would say displaces and makes it's a child-centered household when that child is more important than the spouse.
And you can argue that in the child's mind,
Yeah.
it goes possessions,
Right.
God,
Right.
parents.
So let's flip the question a little bit. Do you think that more families put their kids in front of their spouse than before? Like maybe let's say in the last 30, 40 years, because we can only remember a certain amount of time.
Mm-hmm.
Or do you think it's always been that way, that some people have put their kids in front of their spouse?
I think that most people put their kids in front of their spouse, and I think that might be one of the contributing factors to why households break down a lot of the times nowadays.
Right.
Whereas I think in the past, if you watch like older movies or older TV shows, for instance, the spouses respected each other more, and they were the heads of household. Right. Whereas now, like when you watch TV shows now, I feel like a lot of the times they actually make the kids the heads of household. Right. Like I watch some of the shows that my kids watch that are family shows, and the kids are the heads of household. Whereas you watch like a show like Full House back in the day, you had 3 strong male people that were in charge of the house. Right. The kids didn't run the house.
Do you know that one of the common times two spouses will get divorced is after the kids leave the house, because you've spent 20 years neglecting a marriage,
each other,
and you've put the kids first, and then they leave the house and you don't know each other. And so statistically, and I don't have the statistic in front of me, but a large percentage of marriages end in divorce at that time. So that goes to your point about if you mismanage the 2 and 3 priorities.
And I think a lot of the times, if you put the kids first, that's when some of these breakdowns will happen in general, right? Like even before the kids move out, because you miss out on like what makes your spouse happier, right? And you're just more worried about like your kids not being mad at you, or your kids getting what they want, and that type of thing.
And when you put kids in charge, let's say you put a 10-year-old in charge, well, they're incapable of taking along that responsibility because they're 10. You're trying to entrust that to a 10-year-old. Well, we know, especially in males, boys' brains don't
develop until they're like 25,
28, 25 or something like that, right? Whereas women, it's 18
like
to
16 to 18.
But that can be pretty scary, right?
The
other thing that I wrote down is when you put a child as the center of their own universe, when they get to adulthood and they have to have jobs and things like that, the world doesn't work like that.
It doesn't revolve around them.
We had an example at our school when our kids were in high school, and there was a child that was bullying them. And they were like, no, just whatever, just give in to them. Like we're going to protect them. They have issues. And I'm like, well, this kid, when they get to, how are they going to hold down a job? And the parent was just kind of stepping in for them and making excuses, not taking ownership, and all. It was like, well, that parent's not going to be around in 5 years. How are we teaching this child how to behave when they're 16 years old, they're getting their way?
And it becomes more difficult when they start getting into like work environments and stuff like that, because then they're so used to getting their way that when they don't get their way in a work environment, or they start taking advantage of the work environment, that they feel like they've been wronged. Right. And you got to teach your kids that nothing's for free, and everything's earned. Respect and everything like that is earned, because if you don't, they're going to have a very tough time in the real world. And I think that's going to be a big problem for some of these kids. Just personally, and this is me speaking as a older generation now. And I think the only thing we can do as parents is work with our kids to teach them the benefits of hard work and the benefits of going out there and actually respecting the people that they're working for. So after we had that clip, I thought we'd get a little bit more comments on it, but I think with the comments we did get, a lot of people did agree that we may be raising a spoiled generation, but at the same time, we're trying to give our kids something we didn't have. And I think that technology is leaning towards like what we just talked about a couple weeks ago with the whole like, are we overscheduling our kids? I think technology is really what's getting into it.
It reminds me historically of after the Great Depression and the Second World War, where then everything was plentiful. A lot of the grandparents that we had that went through that, they tended to be more. They didn't actually try to give the next generation everything. I think everyone gave themselves everything.
Yeah,
but that generation kind of taught the next generation maybe more frugality.
Yeah.
So a little bit different because you could compare the two generations.
Yeah.
So
I want to share all of the best places to go in Manitoba. So every one of our guests that shared best places to go in Manitoba, here they are. Roll them.
Well, I really like going to Tommy's Pizzeria because, like, I like their food. Like, they have a great kitchen, not just pizza.
Yeah.
They have burgers, they got tacos they put on the menu. Like, they've got really, really good food.
I haven't been to Tommy's. Have you been to Tommy's?
Like, it's a great vibe.
I see it all the time.
It's a great vibe in there.
Is it?
I've never been in there.
Yeah, they have a really good patio.
Okay.
So I really like Tommy's. I like P.F. Chang's, like, we really like.
Yeah, I see that one all the time for
really
you guys.
like P.F. Chang's, we like going there. And even like Brazen Hall, we really like Brazen Hall. Like, we like trying like different kind of food types are some of our favorite places to go. But
do you consider yourselves foodies?
I guess to some degree. Like, we definitely appreciate different
cuisine,
cuisine for sure.
Yeah.
She's Italian, Croatian, and I'm a mix of a ton of Finnish, Swedish. Even my actually on my mom's side, there was even some French Canadian.
Oh wow!
So who knows? At one point, I could have maybe been a national here if anyone got their Canadian passports. You know what I'm saying? So, But kind of date wise, like, we do like going to the forts, spending some time walking around the forts, walking through the trails there. Stuff like that. It's kind of been fun.
Oh, okay. Well, let's see. If we're going somewhere kind of a little bit nicer, like we recently went to Oxbow in South Osborne. Super, super wonderful. Great organic wine selection. If you like wines, really interesting foods. We love, on the way back from our studio to our house is One Great City Brewing.
Okay.
Fantastic food. You don't even need to like beer. The kitchen is amazing.
Okay.
But on Thursdays, they also do like a small cask of some kind of interesting beer. They modify one of their beers and put like a slice of tiramisu in it or something weird. And it sometimes it's a swing and a miss, and sometimes you're like, this is the greatest thing I've ever tasted. And then after that 22 liters is gone, it's gone. So on Thursdays, we will sometimes drop by there. So that's a little more casual. And then close to our house, we love Langside Grocery, which is on the corner of Langside and Sarah. It was an old grocery store in like post-World War II, and then it was used as a film set. And then it was purchased and turned into like a nice little like resto bar with some like nice little nibbles.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd say those are my top three.
Awesome. That wasn't on my question list. I need some ideas for tonight. So
there you go.
Thank you.
Oxbow if you can. Oxbow is great if you can.
Langside, actually, I just heard this week from my daughter. So
yeah, Langside Grocery is great. Yeah. Excellent cocktails and really nice food. Not like a place where you go for a full meal, but a couple nice small plates and
awesome.
Cool.
Well, we really like to eat largely by my influence on that, I would say. So Pasero, I'd say probably number one, the Keg, and then what would our number three is variable, maybe probably Pizzeria Gusto. Those would be our top three. Yeah.
Okay, my number one, and I tell everybody this is my favorite place to go when I first date, friends, whatever. Activate Winnipeg. It was created here in Winnipeg, and it's going more places. But if you ever have the chance to go to Activate, it's great. It's like a giant arcade. Interactive. It's hard to explain. Just go there and you'll have fun. Trust me.
Yeah.
That's my number one. Number two would probably be, I don't know. I feel like a lot of people say like movie, but you can't really talk at a movie, and you're just kind of just sitting there, and then afterwards you have a good conversation about it. So I'm not gonna say movie. I have to do three.
Yeah.
Okay.
These are the rules.
Restaurants too.
Restaurants?
Any place. It could be a restaurant. It doesn't matter. It's wide open.
Okay, well then I have to throw in Half Moon. 100%. We already gave them a little bit of a shout out, but shout them out again. The vibe of Half Moon, just in general, too, just even like going there in and of itself is just a great experience.
Yeah.
Everyone there is always so friendly and so nice. The food's amazing. The ice cream's amazing. And then another place that I would go to here is it can be anywhere in Manitoba, or does it have to be Winnipeg?
Anywhere in Manitoba.
I would say Clear Lake. Clear Lake's really amazing. The water's beautiful. It doesn't feel like you're in Manitoba. So if you're looking to go for a little staycation,
You're the
from
second
Winnipeg
person to pick Clear Lake.
Really? Oh,
Yeah.
awesome. Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have.
Okay, well, I think like I've never been there before, but every time I see pictures of it, I'm like, that looks like a good date place. It's Pine Ridge Hollow.
Okay.
Okay,
Been
never
there many
been
times.
there.
I've been to the
Get
like
the beach
Is it?
chip,
before.
get the beach chips.
Is it really good for
The
a date?
beach chips are so good.
See, there
Yeah.
you go.
The restaurant. I've only been to the restaurant. I haven't been there since they changed it all into like a whole
Apparently,
village.
it's great.
You just went
But-
3
Yeah.
weeks ago.
Okay.
That's great. Yeah, and you get a free dessert if it's your birthday, and they don't even check
It's
your.
always my birthday when I go
Yeah,
all
no,
places.
literally.
So
Yep.
You just tell them
That's-
it's your birthday.
So
I hope
Pine
they
Ridge
don't watch
Hollow.
this.
If you ever get there, that'll be one of their places.
Yeah.
And then 2 other places that you have been to.
well, I know like they have. I just went to it in the winter, but I don't know if it's like an all the time thing. I think it is now, but it's one of those candlelight concerts. Have you seen them in your advertisements?
We're going next weekend.
Okay, it's incredible.
This
I
week-
went to the
this week-
Coldplay
this weekend
tribute.
coming up.
I did Coldplay tribute, and it
Yeah.
was super cool.
Ours is
Taylor Swift?
Shoot, no, it's not Swift. I think it's the Beatles, and
Ooh, that would be a good one.
And I'm forgetting now.
that would be a good one.
It's our anniversary this weekend.
Okay,
so
yeah, we
we
did
just-
ours. I think we did ours just for Christmas or something, like just to go after Christmas for like a together thing. But that was a super cool,
Yeah.
super cool
this will be
evening.
our first time, so looking forward to it.
Yeah, you'll really like it. It
Good.
was super cool.
Okay.
And now your go-to restaurant that if somebody came from out of
Ooh.
town, you're gonna like take them to this restaurant. This is that restaurant that you go to.
A&W fries.
Yeah. Oh, it's a go-to. I think it depends on the person and how much I want to hang out with them again. You know, like if it's an intimate setting or not.
Yeah.
But we went to. I don't know how to say it. It's Enotica or Enotica. Like Enotececa. It's like the new kind of vibe where you share plate. So you order the one, like you
Oh.
order a bunch of different things.
I
It's like
would not
Nola.
that place.
Right.
It's like Oxbow type vibe.
We're not
You
getting into
can't
it
share
again.
food.
No, I.
We've gone over this in other. You can't.
Yeah.
We're not going to talk about it again.
But I do
Tim.
like to share food.
It's
was-
just awesome.
it was actually
the vibe
Jasmine's
was good,
episode,
and
too.
their asparagus
There you
au
go.
gratin was like we tried to recreate it when we got home. It was nothing like it, but it was amazing food.
Yeah.
I mean, our go-to like a great date night that I enjoy is the keg. Typically on Gary Street, that's our favorite keg. Top 3, hey.
Yeah.
Pine Ridge Hollow would be another one that we go to
That's
decently
beside, yeah, for
often.
sure.
Yep.
Yeah. And
One that
then-
you can like if you said, Jess, we're going out tonight. This is our favorite place. This is where if no other places existed, this would be the place we'd go to.
Are we talking food or anything?
Anything.
Anything.
Could be Thermea. Could be anything. I'm not trying to give you clues.
Thermia is good. I just don't like going to a place like that and seeing people I know.
Right.
And it happens all the time at Thermia.
Because then you got to
So-
talk to them.
Not that I don't mind talking. It's like I'm there with my wife. I don't really want
Just do
to.
the off glass. You can't talk
you know?
in there.
Sorry.
Just do the off
Yeah.
glass. You can't talk there.
Yeah.
I can't talk. I'm sorry.
And number 3.
Oh man, that's tough.
Where'd you go on your first date?
First date. Oh man, I got to think back to that. What did we do our first
we
date?
put him on the spot.
And my wife knows that my memory is like not the greatest when it comes to these types of things. Where did we go on our first date? Oh my goodness, we went to a restaurant. I think we went to. I think we went to Stella's.
Okay.
So Stella's is probably another. I don't want to always pick food, but that would be another one that
That's right.
food.
A lot of our guests pick restaurants for all three
Yeah.
of them, so you're good.
Okay.
And
The best restaurants only, or just
no, it could
anywhere?
be anywhere.
Any places in Winnipeg. Best places in Winnipeg.
And
Oh.
let's say Manitoba too.
And Manitoba.
Yeah.
Oh man, this is a tough one. There's so many. Honestly, I'm not. There are so many great places in Manitoba. Like they're really. People really give Manitoba a hard time. When I was in SFU or Vancouver and I got here, and I'm like, there is amazingness outside the perimeter within Winnipeg. So that's a really loaded question. I mean, Churchill, Manitoba, but that's a pretty expensive date if you're going to go on a date up there. The Cinnamon Park, Conservatory, the Leaf, that whole
The Leaf, yeah.
the whole,
Leaf
the
is
whole
amazing.
really the previous government put a lot of resources behind that. Just plug. Date wise or dinner wise, oh man, this
If
is
there was
tough.
one restaurant that you would go to any day of the week because it's your favorite restaurant, other than Shawarma-Con.
Can we come back to that at the very end? Can I think of that restaurant?
This is the very end.
This is the very end?
Yeah, you got 5 minutes.
Time flew.
Yeah.
Oh, man. I mean, there's so many great ones, right? Whether it's Mona Lisa or Hearth, or you're having a good time at the King's Head. Like, I mean, I could write Four Crowns. Like, Silver Heights is Tony and the guys. Like, oh, my God, the ribs, like the guys there and Tony. Like, I could not pick one. I would refuse to pick one. I would just say I'm not picking one.
Well, those are all great restaurants.
You know, Enoteca, Clay Oven. There's so many great
You
restaurants.
just like saying all of them so that they all know.
I know that they all know. I love them.
That's the politician.
I couldn't just pick one. I could not pick one restaurant. I would not. I won't do it.
The politician in him.
Yeah, but you gave us several good ones, so I'll take that answer. And I only
so out of all those places, what was your favorite
that they've
that they talked about?
Well, a couple of places I haven't had a chance to go to, like Tommy's Pizzeria.
I gotta go there. Apparently, the pizza's amazing.
Adam suggested it.
Yeah.
It's closed on a couple of days, like I think Monday and Sunday they're closed or something.
Okay.
So it's difficult because those Sundays.
Those are the days you're available.
Sundays I like to do that. Plus, they don't have a lot of pizza. They do have a cauliflower crust pizza.
Maybe we'll go there today.
Yeah. We should record from there. But that was one that popped up in my memory, and of course Elkhorn, which I do go to.
Yeah.
Clear Lake, which were two of the what Adam had suggested.
Half Moon. I've heard you've become a regular at Half Moon.
I stopped there once this summer on the way back from somewhere.
Yeah,
it was awesome. Nobody was there at like 11 a.m.
Oh, that's pretty good. Probably gets
So
busier
good.
in the evenings for
Well,
dinners
sure
and
it
stuff.
does. Just sitting there on my own. I love seeing.
And then
it.
there's other places that were shared, like Hearth and the Keg. The Keg was
I
said
haven't
a few
been to Hearth.
times.
My wife's been there.
I haven't been to Hearth either yet.
Yeah.
There's so many places that I got to go to still. So, best places in Manitoba. If you watched that segment, let us know where you've been and which place is your favorite out of all those places. Because I think that even a place like Activate Sports was
Avery.
was talked
Shout
about.
out
Avery Martin.
Martin, not Sanderson.
That is correct.
So anyway,
it's awesome. I'm gonna finish off this best of. This best of may have been a little bit shorter than the first three, depending on how I edited it all together.
I don't know how you're gonna do it.
I'm gonna finish off this best of with some advice for our listener that's listening right now, and for the person that's watching right now. This is gonna be some advice from every one of our guests that we asked advice.
That's a great idea.
So let's roll all of our guests' advice because some of them had some very amazing stuff.
Something that I've said a lot, and it's a little, I'll try not to make it too long, but you become the company you keep, so keep your company very wisely. You may think that you are smarter or maybe better off or have more money or whatever it may be. I think especially when you're younger, when you look at the people in your life who you pass judgment on, think about the people that they're around. Like, do you want to be that person who is like, oh, well, they're friends with so-and-so and people judge you based on that? So like, it is so incredibly important to ensure that every single person you have close to you is somebody that you want to share good news with, somebody who like really motivates you and encourages you and is really great and enhances your life. Like, I don't care what reasons you may have certain people in your life. There's a lot of people who are like, oh, well, we've been friends for 13 years, but they make you feel like you should probably stop being friends with them because you will turn into them. You may think that you're smarter, but you're going to turn into them.
Yeah.
You want to know something really crazy? All children start out absolutely wonderful. These beautiful, lovely souls. And there is a reason why some of them end up in jail and others don't. And a lot of that is due to the company that they keep.
Every season's temporary. Your hard ones, your great ones. I would say everything is every season. I mean, physically, how we look at it, and our fleshly way of experiencing it is temporary. Of course, biblically, I believe that every season you go through, you can have joy and love and peace and strength through. But when it comes to that, it's probably a multi answers in that way, but I would say that, and then also say just like take every day, day by day. Have your plans. Don't be married to them. Because the Bible talks about that a lot too. It's like God has plans for you too, and when you submit to Him in your obedience, it's amazing where He'll take you. So some people are just too married to their own plans when they feel like they shouldn't do it. They're so married to them that they ruin their entire life because they don't step out into the area that God wants them to step out to because they're too married to their own plans.
Yep.
Buckle up.
it would be is honestly buckle up. Right out of high school was a very hard time in my life, and just like honestly buckle up, hold on, and just be ready for anything and everything that's coming for you. It's not all going to be good, but it's not all going to be bad, and there's some really great surprises that are coming. Just hold on and you'll make it.
Get in the gym even more. I just think you never know what opportunities are going to show up on your doorstep. You never know what door is going to open for you. And I think everyone always wonders what could they have been had you know the pathways that were afforded to you in your career. So I don't think I was ever a person that wasn't known for having a work ethic, but knowing what I know about how far you can push yourself, if I could go back to 18, I would just live in a gym.
Yeah.
And just, maximize my physical abilities, play off the 6'8" thing kind of thing.
Yeah.
And that I think that would be it. That would be my biggest thing. I would go back and say, you just on those days when you think you're working hard, it's not enough. So it needs to be more, and that will pay off for you dividends down the road. I think that would be 100% the advice I give myself.
I think for me at that age, because I was going through so much with my mental health, I think it would honestly be very simple, and it would just be that everything is gonna be okay. Because it was like the world was so big, and there's, thinking about being 30 and thinking about what you have to do when you grow up and then right now, and, like, how am I ever going to get out of all of this chaos? I think like everything will work out. Everything's going to be okay. Have faith and stop spending so much time like eating yourself alive and like just dwelling in all of that. It's just like everything's going to be good, dude.
But I think just like, doing what you love is hard. It's not easy. And you really have to make sure that balance you keep that balance in your life. Again, going back to that imposter syndrome and everything but at this point and living the life that I have, we've done thousands of shows. We've been to 65 countries.
Yeah.
We presented our show in 5 languages at this point. It's like I wouldn't trade any of it for the world. And, there are some very big challenges working especially as a creative for yourself, and basically, like I said earlier, it's up to you. You will get back what you give, but it is hard.
Awesome.
And don't be afraid to, get through those hard years at the beginning. Like push through, you'll get through it. And just be authentic to yourself. Again, it's not what you do on stage, it's who you are. That's what makes it important.
Awesome.
I think it's find your community, or find other filmmakers who are maybe further ahead than yourself, or more seasoned. Could be even outside of the exact field you're in. For example, if you're a director, finding producers. If you're a producer, finding director, all that kind of stuff. And just ask them questions and try and learn from them. There's so many people out there that are far more experienced that do have a lot to give, and it doesn't hurt reaching out. I mean, that's what I did with Cypher Studios, and they were a lot further ahead than I was, and we had nothing except to gain from getting in touch with them. So that's my advice.
Easy. Always be kind. Easy. Always do the right thing.
Best advice that people could give. That's fantastic, because I think that all of our guests have a little different perspective on everything, and it's great to have perspective. Our conversations we don't want to have our conversations as just our thoughts. We want to have our conversations as their guest thoughts and our listener thoughts, right? So when they have something, we want them to comment. The reason why we ask for comments is because we want to get perception on what other people think.
Yeah.
And sometimes we will agree with it and sometimes we don't. Yeah. But just because we don't agree with it doesn't mean we don't appreciate it.
The number one thing we want, or at least I want from this, is to get conversation. Conversation's so important, whether you agree with things politically, religious wise, or anything else. Like talk to a neighbor,
the Mandela effect.
Yeah, I mean, even the Mandela effect. Then
the Mandela
I will
effect,
grin and bear it because we're having conversation.
Die Hard Christmas.
Yeah, some things are more important than others, but that's just me.
And let's leave it on that. Let's thank everybody.
I want to thank Jim, Bob, Frank, Nancy, and other people with
That's
other
a
names.
throwback to the
Steve,
first episode.
Susie. Let's thank John
Romper Room.
and Tim,
And
you at home.
No, we haven't. Know who we haven't thanked in about 45 episodes? Shaka Khan.
Shaka Khan.
Have a great one. We'll see you all on season 2 with our newest episodes. Brand new stuff coming your way.
Thanks for watching the Greg and Tim Show podcast. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share with all your friends. Sharing is caring.